Everyone has encountered at least once in their life the type of person who speaks kind words, but is always calculating their own gain. They may be friendly and smiling to your face, but behind your back, they secretly try to put you in a difficult position. Sometimes they don't do anything obvious. They don't directly harm you, but each time you interact with them, you feel tired, uneasy, and that things are gradually deviating from their original course. Malicious people aren't scary because they're powerful, but because they're so good at hiding their true nature and making you lower your guard. Mature society is no longer a place where right and wrong are clearly defined. Much of the harm doesn't come from openly hostile enemies, but from people who appear friendly people, who constantly claim to be for your benefit, who seem to understand you better than you understand yourself. But behind those sweet words lies calculation, a desire for advantage, a mentality of pulling others down to elevate oneself. Without vigilance, it's easy to become a pawn in their schemes without even realizing it. The ancients saw through this type of person very early on. They didn't teach us to retaliate fiercely or expose them loudly, because confronting a treacherous person directly only leads to mental exhaustion and further trouble. Instead, the ancients emphasized self-protection through wisdom, maintaining appropriate distance, keeping one's mouth shut, controlling one's thoughts, and setting limits. You don't need to defeat them. Just prevent them from harming you. Today's video will help you see the true nature of devious people. Identify subtle signs that are often overlooked. Understand why kind people are often targeted. And most importantly, learn how to deal with them calmly, without stress, without fear, without falling into emotional traps. This isn't cunning. It's the survival wisdom needed to live peacefully in a complex world. If you've ever been taken advantage of, been treated unfairly, or simply feel that the relationships around you are draining your energy, this video can help you see things more clearly. Don't be overly naive, but also don't become overly suspicious or cynical. Maintaining integrity while having a protective barrier is a very high level of living. Stay until the end of the video to understand how our ancestors protected themselves without confrontation. No need for winning or losing. They maintained physical well-being, mental stability, and avoided being dragged down by fate. And don't forget to subscribe to the Simple Philosophy channel to continue following profound lessons that will help you live more steadily and mindfully amidst the many changes in life. A devious person is very difficult to identify by their outward appearance alone. They don't appear aggressive or openly hurtful. On the contrary, they often present a very amiable facade. They always speak of righteousness, morality, and the welfare of others. Their words are pleasing to the ear. But behind that beautiful facade lies an inner self-interest. Every action, every word, every relationship is measured by the question, what do I gain from this? The core of a devious person isn't how evil they are, but rather that they never reveal their true intentions. They rarely speak their minds directly. They rarely act transparently. Instead, they use words as a veil. A seemingly caring remark is actually a probing question. A seemingly innocent piece of advice is actually aimed at leading you in a direction that benefits them. When things aren't clear, it's difficult to point out where they went wrong. But when you look back at the whole process, you realize you're always the one who suffers. Deceitful people are very good at using moralistic language. They talk a lot about right and wrong, about loyalty, about sacrifice, about kindness. But strangely, these standards almost exclusively apply to others. When it comes to their own interests, all principles can be flexible. They might advise you to be patient for the sake of harmony, but if they themselves are even slightly offended, they will react immediately. They might say money is unimportant, but they are the most calculating when it comes to dividing profits. A very common characteristic of deceitful people is that they talk a lot but do very little, or they do things in a way that makes others bear the heavy burden while they reap the light rewards. They are good at making promises, good at painting a rosy picture, good at creating a sense of intimacy so that others willingly give. But when it comes time to take responsibility, they disappear. Or they cleverly shift the responsibility onto others with seemingly reasonable excuses. The ancients once said, "A sweet tongue hides a dagger." This isn't an exaggeration, but rather a conclusion drawn from countless life experiences. Deceitful people rarely commit evil openly. They do what benefits them under the guise of helping others. Therefore, if you only look at their words, you're easily convinced. But if you observe the final outcome, you'll see the scales always tip to one side. What's even more dangerous is that devious people are often very patient. They aren't in a hurry to take advantage immediately. They are willing to invest time in building their image, creating trust, and making you feel like they are good people. Once you've opened up, shared more, and placed more trust in them, they begin to exploit you step by step. This process happens very slowly, so victims often don't realize it until they've already suffered significant harm. A key indicator of a devious person is to observe whether they talk more about themselves or others. Devious people rarely reveal their true thoughts, but they love to extract information from others. They ask many questions and listen attentively, not to understand, but to gather data. This information can later become a tool for manipulation or to gain an advantage in crucial situations. Malicious people often change their attitude based on self-interest. When you are valuable to them, they are very enthusiastic. When you are no longer useful, their attitude will gradually become cold. Or they will find ways to make you withdraw while still maintaining their good image. This type of person is rarely seen as bad in the eyes of the majority. But only those who have had close contact with them truly understand the extent of the damage they cause. What makes many people vulnerable to harm from malicious individuals is not their own stupidity, but their excessive trust in words. They blindly believe that anyone who speaks morally is ethical. They blindly believe that those who appear kind cannot possibly harbor ill intentions. Our ancestors didn't teach us to doubt everything, but rather to observe the consistency between words and actions. What is said is not as important as doing what is right. Understanding what constitutes a deceitful person isn't meant to make you overly cautious or lose faith in humanity. It's about knowing when to keep a safe distance, not blindly giving away your trust just because of a few pleasant words, and understanding that in mature life, kindness spoken and kindness demonstrated in action are two very different things. When you see this true nature, you'll be less swayed by words, less pressured to please others, and less self-blame when you realize you have unhealthy relationships. Identifying malicious people is the first step in protecting yourself. No need for confrontation. No need to expose them. Just stay alert, maintain boundaries, and let time do the filtering. The ancients said that knowing people isn't difficult. The difficulty lies in knowing where you should stand. When you are no longer swayed by words, no longer blindly following empty promises, you have stepped out of the most dangerous zone, blind trust. From there, your path to a peaceful life will be much wider. The ancients once said that petty people fear not poverty of lack of opportunity. This saying may sound extreme at first, but the longer one lives, the more profound it becomes. A virtuous person can be poor while maintaining their boundaries. A petty person, once they see an opportunity for gain, easily loses all boundaries. What they fear is not scarcity nor hardship, but the lack of opportunity to turn the situation to their advantage. When opportunity arises, many principles they once spoke of are immediately cast aside. Cunning people don't usually act unless they see a clear advantage. They may appear gentle, even submissive, sometimes even giving others the impression that they are weak. But that's not their true nature. It's a waiting game. When circumstances aren't favorable, they choose to lie low, observe, gather information, build relationships, and especially wait for an opening, a moment when the benefits are great enough for them to strike. That's why devious people aren't scary in normal times. They become dangerous when a great advantage arises. When money, power, fame, or opportunities for advancement are within reach. That's when their true nature gradually reveals itself. They can change their tone very quickly, their attitude very skillfully, and their stance very logically. If you're not vigilant, others can easily be drawn into their trap without being able to react. The ancients clearly understood this nature, which is why they always emphasized defense over offense. Not out of weakness, but because they understood human nature. With petty individuals, direct retaliation often only escalates conflict, while one's own interests are not guaranteed. The wisest approach is early identification. Know who you can confide in and who you should keep your distance from. Identification isn't about condemning, but about positioning yourself safely. A very clear characteristic of petty people is their keen sense of opportunity. They pay close attention to who holds power, who possesses resources, who is weak, and who is vulnerable. They may appear to help the weak to gain favor, but their ultimate goal is not kindness, but to create an advantageous position for the future. When the tide turns, those they once helped may become stepping stones for their rise, or obstacles to be eliminated. A virtuous person works according to principles. A petty person works for results. If the result is beneficial, the method can be flexible, even disregarding the harm to others. This doesn't always manifest in overtly bad actions. Sometimes it's just an irresponsible remark, a cleverly placed blame, a decision that shifts the risk to someone else. But cumulatively, the consequences are often very severe for those affected. Identifying a devious person early is the first step in protecting yourself, because the longer you wait, the higher the cost. Once deeply entangled in shared interests, complex relationships, or dubious agreements, withdrawal becomes difficult. Devious people understand this very well, so they are usually not in a hurry. They let others get deeply involved before gradually tightening their grip. At that point, if you resist, you will be seen as ungrateful, a troublemaker, and someone who disrupts the situation. Ancient wisdom teaches that one should judge people not only in times of hardship, but also in times of prosperity. Those who maintain their integrity, even in poverty, often do so when they become wealthy. Those who become accustomed to calculation in poverty find it difficult to restrain themselves when they have great advantage. Therefore, don't judge someone solely by their words in ordinary circumstances. Observe how they react when their interests are threatened, when they have to share benefits, when they have to take responsibility. That is when their true nature is revealed. A common mistake made by honest people is thinking that everyone is like them. They assume that if they're not willing to do bad, then others aren't either. But in reality, not everyone shares the same values. Deceitful people may consider exploiting others normal, even clever. If you judge them by your own moral standards, you'll always be one step behind. And in a world driven by self-interest, that one step behind can sometimes be enough to lose a great deal. Early identification doesn't mean doubting everything. It means learning to observe. Observe whether their words match their actions. Observe whether they are consistent. Observe whether their interests consistently outweigh others. Observe whether, when faced with risks, they are willing to share the burden or always try to avoid them. These small details, observed over time, will give you a very clear answer. Ancient wisdom also emphasizes that self-preservation is not selfishness, but a responsibility. When you are not vigilant enough, you not only harm yourself, but can also implicate your loved ones, family, and teammates. Many tragedies do not begin with great malice, but with misplaced trust and trusting too soon. Petty people don't fear poverty because for them, it's only a temporary state. They believe that with the right opportunity, everything can be turned around. And to seize that opportunity, they are willing to wait, willing to play the good guy, willing to endure, but also willing to turn against you when necessary. Understanding this isn't about living in fear, but about knowing that your safety shouldn't be entirely in the hands of others. Early identification is the first step. Maintaining distance is the next. And setting boundaries is the final barrier. When you don't chase quick gains, don't crave easy money, and don't put yourself in a dependent position, even when given the opportunity, it's very difficult for a devious person to act. The ancients called this not giving the petty person a chance to act. Finally, remember that true wisdom doesn't lie in exposing how many bad people you can find. It lies in living with enough awareness to avoid being drawn into unnecessary messes. When you know who to be close to, who to keep your distance from, and who to maintain a purely social relationship with, life becomes much easier. And that is the deepest meaning behind the ancient wisdom about petty people and opportunism. The first sign of a devious person is gossiping behind others' backs. This is something the ancients repeatedly warned against, yet many modern people still take it lightly. This is because gossip is often disguised as private conversations, sharing personal experiences, or offering advice to help you understand someone better. But in reality, behind these seemingly sincere words lies the seed of long-term insecurity and danger. People who gossip behind your back often start with seemingly harmless remarks. They say they're only telling you so you can be cautious. They say they don't mean any harm. They're just worried about you. They make you feel like you're trustworthy, like someone special to whom they can share secrets. But at that very moment, you've unknowingly stepped into a sophisticated trap. There's an old saying, people who constantly discuss the faults of others are insecure. This is because they are accustomed to using words to belittle others in order to elevate themselves. When they speak ill of someone in front of you, they don't intend to protect you. What they want is to control information, control your emotions, and gradually shape your perception of the world to suit their own interests. Observe carefully. Those who speak ill of others behind their backs are often very subtle. They rarely attack directly. They use half-spoken sentences, their eyes, and their silences full of hidden meaning, leading you to draw your own conclusions. And it is these conclusions that make you feel intelligent, that you understand the situation. But in reality, you are being manipulated. The most dangerous thing about gossips is that they lack clear moral boundaries in their words. Today they might tell you about someone else's bad deeds. Tomorrow, when it's more advantageous, they could easily tell your story to a third party with the same tone. You are no exception. You are just a temporary link in their chain of self-interest. Many relationships break down starting with seemingly harmless words, an embellished remark, an incomplete account, a personal emotion misrepresented as objective truth. Malicious people understand the power of words. They don't need to directly harm you, just sowing doubt, sowing misunderstanding. That's enough to make you distance yourself from others, to isolate yourself. And when you weaken, they grow stronger. The ancients taught, listen with your ears to hear other stories, but keep them in your heart. Don't believe them hastily, and don't spread them too quickly. A virtuous person doesn't use words as a weapon. They understand that once they become accustomed to speaking ill of others, their character will gradually erode, and their good fortune will diminish accordingly. If you want to protect yourself, start by observing your own reactions. When someone speaks ill of another person in front of you, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel superior? If so, be careful. That feeling is the sweetest trap. It makes you unconsciously complicit. Wise people choose to listen, but not get involved. They don't join in. They don't add comments. They don't show excessive interest. They maintain a neutral attitude. They subtly change the subject, or they simply listen without judgment. It is this calmness that makes cunning people realize that you are not an easy target to manipulate. Another sign is that people who gossip often like to form cliques. They tell you that only you understand them, only you know the truth. From there, they divide the world into inside and outside, right and wrong, good and bad, in a way that benefits them. Once you get used to seeing life through that lens, it's very difficult to break free. Remember this. Truly kind people speak frankly when necessary and remain silent when unnecessary. They don't use other people's mistakes for entertainment. They don't use secrets as communication tools. And they certainly don't use words to build personal power. Identifying devious people isn't about suspecting everyone. It's about staying alert, knowing what to listen to, what to ignore, and who to keep a safe distance from. In a complex world, keeping your mouth clean and your ears open is the wisest way to protect yourself. If you find yourself in such situations, don't blame yourself. Everyone has moments of weakness. The important thing is that from today onwards, you know when to stop, how to observe, and how to choose lasting peace over fleeting feelings of intimacy. If you found this lesson helpful, please stay with the Simple Philosophy channel. Subscribe to continue exploring ancient principles that help you live peacefully amidst the complexities of human relationships. Share this video with your cherished friends so that together we can become more mindful, calmer, and steadfast on our life's journey. The second sign of a devious person is their tendency to feign excessive closeness. This type of person makes you feel close very quickly. They call you friends as soon as you meet them. After only a few conversations, they consider you a confidant. They laugh and talk naturally. They show excessive concern. They always act like they understand you. But this rapid closeness is precisely the earliest warning sign to be wary of. The ancients taught that true friendship takes time to prove. The more quickly someone tries to become close, the harder it is to trust them. Human emotions cannot deepen after just a few meetings. When someone deliberately shortens the distance unusually, it's often not genuine, but driven by ulterior motives. Devious people are very good at using intimacy as a tool. They understand that when people feel cared for, listened to, and understood, their defenses automatically lower. That's when they start asking about private matters. How's your family? Is your job going well? What's your income like? Are there any problems with your relationship with your superiors, colleagues, or relatives? These questions are disguised in a caring tone, but in reality, they are data collection. At first, you don't see anything wrong, because everyone needs to share. Everyone gets tired and wants someone to listen. But you don't realize that not everyone who listens does so for your sake. Some listen to remember. Some ask questions to glean information. Some are close friends to guide you. People who pretend to be close are often very subtle. They don't bombard you with questions. They tell their stories first. They share things that seem very private. They create a sense of trust. When you listen to them talk about their difficulties, you feel chosen. You feel trusted, and so you open up. But you don't know that the stories they tell may have been edited. They may just be bait to lure you in. The ancients said, petty people befriend others for personal gain. They show utmost loyalty before profit arrives, but turn their backs without mercy once it's obtained. Inquiring deeply into your personal life is a preparation for future gain. Once they understand your weaknesses, your fears, and your desires, they know how to influence you. When needed, they can use familiarity to ask for favors, use information to exert pressure, and use secrets to bind you. Some people think, if I haven't done anything wrong, I don't have to worry about my weaknesses being exploited. But weaknesses aren't just mistakes. Weaknesses can be emotions, deference, self-respect, or the desire for recognition. Malicious people don't need you to make mistakes. They just need you to be vulnerable. Pay attention to one thing. People who pretend to be close often don't respect boundaries. You're not ready to talk, but they still ask. You avoid the topic, but they still press on. You remain silent, but they interpret it to their own effect. They make you feel like not sharing means you don't trust them. And when you feel guilty for keeping it private, you've been manipulated. In healthy relationships, intimacy grows gradually over time. No one forces you to tell anyone. No one judges you for keeping things to yourself. Kind people understand that everyone opens up at different times. Malicious people, on the other hand, need information as soon as possible because information is power. Another sign is that they tend to remember everything you say very well. Not out of interest, but to use it. They repeat the exact details at the right time, surprising you with their memory. But you don't know that in their minds. Every piece of information is stored in a separate compartment, waiting for the right moment. The ancients taught that a gentleman's friendships are like water-mild yet enduring. A petty person's friendships are like wine strong but fleeting. A friendship that develops too quickly is like a raging fire, easily burning everything to ashes once it gets out of control. To protect yourself, you don't need to be suspicious of everything. You just need to maintain your own pace. When you first meet someone, say just enough. Share at a safe level. Observe how they react when you don't respond in depth. If they respect you, they have boundaries. If they seem annoyed, frustrated, or try to pry further, take a step back. Wise people understand that not everyone who seems close is a friend. Not everyone who asks about you is genuinely concerned. And not everyone who laughs and talks intimately has good intentions. Keeping one's private life confidential is not a sign of coldness, but rather a form of self-respect and self-protection. In a complex society, knowing when to speak, knowing when to be friendly, and maintaining a safe distance are crucial survival skills. Malicious people exist everywhere, but they only thrive when you are too lenient. Remember this: taking your time isn't a sign of a lack of compassion. It's about giving yourself time to see clearly, to feel, and to choose. When you don't rush to open the door, those with bad intentions will leave sooner, while those with genuine intentions will patiently stay. Maintaining boundaries is about maintaining peace, and lasting peace is always more valuable than any fleeting feeling of intimacy. The ancients once told a seemingly simple story, yet it contained a profound lesson about human nature and the treachery hidden beneath the facade of goodness. The story is about a friend who constantly claims to be a confidant, always ready to help, always by your side in every situation. But that same person is the one secretly setting a trap that leads you into misfortune. Through this story, the ancients wanted to remind us that kindness, without boundaries, becomes the most dangerous weakness. Once upon a time, there was a man who read books. He was kind-hearted and trusting. In his village, he had a close friend who visited him often. This friend always spoke kind words, like they were brothers, sharing both good fortune and misfortune. When the man encountered financial difficulties, his friend proactively offered to help. No borrowing, no paperwork required. He simply said, in a gentle voice, "I'm helping out of friendship." The reader was deeply moved. He thought to himself that there were still such good people in the world. From then on, he trusted his friend even more. He sought his advice on both big and small matters, sharing everything from family to social issues. Whenever he encountered trouble, his friend enthusiastically stepped in to help. Gradually, the reader became almost entirely dependent on his friend. But what the book reader didn't know was that every act of help had ulterior motives. The friend took advantage of the trust to act as a nominee for certain matters, to handle certain transactions, under the guise of helping a friend avoid trouble, stress, and conflict. Because the book reader trusted the person, they didn't check, didn't ask questions, and didn't set conditions. They simply entrusted everything to the other person. One day, a major event occurred. The authorities investigated a case involving money. All the documents, evidence, and signatures were in the name of the scholar. The other friend had disappeared. He was nowhere to be found. When questioned, the scholar realized that he had been trapped for a long time. All his previous acts of help had actually been a step-by-step process of pushing him into a position where he would suffer the consequences. When ancient people recounted this story, they didn't emphasize the wickedness of the treacherous perpetrator, but rather the innocence of the victim. Because treacherous people always exist, but only when we lack boundaries do they have the opportunity to strike. The friend in the story is not at all evil. On the contrary, he always appears as a model of kindness. He speaks gently, acts thoughtfully, and knows when others need him. It is this timely help that creates a sense of indebtedness in the reader. Once indebted, it becomes difficult to refuse, difficult to doubt, and easy to delegate decision-making power to others. The ancients taught that those who use kindness as a pretext often hide a dagger in their backs. True kindness does not make others dependent. False kindness always weakens others. When someone helps you, it gradually makes you lose your independence, your responsibility, and your control over your own affairs. That is no longer help, but soft control. The scary thing is, devious people rarely demand anything up front. They give first. They give a lot. Enough to get you used to receiving. Once you're used to receiving, you'll be afraid to refuse. When you're afraid to refuse, they start making small offers, gradually bigger ones. And by the time you realize it, you're in a position of no return. The reader in the story wasn't greedy, nor was he evil. But because he didn't know how to maintain boundaries with kindness, he inadvertently handed over his fate to someone else. Ancient wisdom considers this the greatest mistake in interpersonal relationships. Kindness needs to be accompanied by prudence. Trust needs to be tempered with limits. Both helping and receiving help need clarity, not for calculation, but to protect both sides. When things are ambiguous, those with bad intentions will take advantage, while good people will suffer. Some people say that living in constant doubt is exhausting. But the ancients didn't teach us to doubt everyone. They taught us not to give complete control to just anyone, no matter how close they are. Because people change according to their own interests. They may be good today, but that doesn't mean they'll be the same tomorrow when self-interest arises. In modern life, this story repeats itself in many different forms. Some people claim to help you advance, but in reality, they push you into risk. Some claim to help manage your finances, but secretly seize control. Some claim to be doing you a favor, but make all the decisions for you. The common thread in all these situations is that the recipients of help crossed personal boundaries, failed to take initiative, didn't control the information, and didn't take responsibility. And when things went wrong, the unscrupulous individuals retreated quickly because they never actually put their name on anything. The ancients concluded that a virtuous person helps others to become stronger, while a petty person helps others to become dependent. Simply observing the results of such help will reveal the source of that kindness. The ultimate lesson of this story is not to close your heart completely, but to open your heart selectively. Help with clear conditions. Accept help within your control. Be grateful, but not dependent. Trust people, but don't entrust your life to others. When kindness has boundaries, it becomes strength. When kindness has no boundaries, it becomes a knife that turns against oneself. Understanding this, a virtuous person can navigate life without being harmed by their own goodness. The ancients taught that dealing with treacherous people doesn't require confrontation, exposing their true nature, or competing for superiority. The most important thing is self-protection. And the first principle of self-protection is to keep your mouth shut. Don't reveal your thoughts completely. Don't disclose your plans. Don't expose your entire inner self. Knowing when to remain silent is the safest armor a mature person should learn to wear. People often think that speaking out will lighten their hearts, that sharing will bring understanding, and that revealing their feelings will create closeness. But the ancients clearly saw a different truth. Opening your mouth isn't just about saying good things. It can also inadvertently give weapons to others, especially to those who are devious. They don't need power or status. What they need is information, and information always comes from words. Devious people are excellent listeners. They rarely talk much about themselves, but they encourage others to speak. They show interest, nod, empathize, and even share small stories to put your mind at ease. But in reality, they are gathering pieces of your thoughts, personality, weaknesses, desires, and plans. Every word you say is memorized and processed in their minds. The ancients said, "A wise person speaks little, but thinks much. A foolish person speaks much, but thinks little." Keeping your mouth shut isn't about being deceitful, but about maintaining a safe space for yourself. When you talk too much, you reveal your direction. When you reveal your direction, others can block your path. When you reveal your fear, others can use it to intimidate you. When you reveal your ambition, others can exploit it to set a trap. Throughout history, many people have failed not because of incompetence, but because their mouths spoke before their brains. They talked about their plans before they were fully formed. They spoke of their dreams before they had the means. They expressed their dissatisfaction before they had a way out. And a cunning person just sits there, listens, waits, and at the right moment, gives a gentle push. Everything collapses. Keeping your mouth shut doesn't mean remaining silent forever. It means knowing who to talk to, where to talk, and where to stop. Mature people understand that not everyone needs to know everything they think. Not every relationship requires the naked truth. Some things should be kept to yourself. Some plans should only be shared once they're complete. Some sorrows should only be confided in someone who has shared the same challenges. Devious people fear those who are quiet, but get things done. They can't predict their actions. They can't control them. They don't know when the other person will advance or retreat. Silence creates a vacuum, and that vacuum makes the bad guys uneasy. When you speak less, you maintain the initiative. When you maintain the initiative, you're not easily manipulated. The ancients also taught that the mouth is the gateway to fortune and misfortune. Words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. A single careless remark can ruin 10 years of hard work. One misplaced statement can change one's destiny, especially in a highly competitive environment with intertwined interests. Controlling one's speech is not only wise, but also crucial for survival. Some say that too much silence leads to misunderstandings, but the ancients saw further. Temporary misunderstandings can be rectified. A loss of security, however, cannot. Those who truly understand you don't need you to say much. Those who want to harm you will find it useless no matter how much you explain. Therefore, silence isn't about proving anything, but about protecting yourself from unnecessary schemes. Those who know how to keep their mouths shut tend to live more peaceful lives. They get involved in fewer controversies and less likely to be dragged into drama. They don't need to prove their intelligence, show off their plans, or complain about grievances. They let the results speak for themselves. And results are the hardest thing for even the most devious person to distort. In daily life, you can practice this principle from very small things. You don't need to reveal all your future plans. You don't need to specify what you're doing for whom. You don't need to express every emotion verbally. When asked a question that's too in-depth, answer just enough. When the conversation strays from your comfort zone, smile and change the subject. That's not being cold. That's self-respect. The ancients once said, "A wise bird chooses its branch to perch on. A wise person chooses their words carefully." Keeping your mouth shut means choosing your words. Choose silence when necessary. Choose to stop before it's too late. Choose to protect your inner self amidst the storms of the world. When you achieve this, malicious people will gradually distance themselves. They won't be able to exploit you or use you for their schemes. And you will maintain your peace of mind, keep your path, and hold your destiny in your own hands. If you find this principle thought-provoking, please subscribe to the Simple Philosophy channel. Share this video with friends who might be interested. Let's learn together how to speak less, live more deeply, and navigate life peacefully amidst complexities. Ancient wisdom teaches that in interpersonal relationships, the most difficult thing is not distinguishing between good and evil, but maintaining the right distance. This is especially true when dealing with treacherous people. The second principle for self-protection is to keep your distance, not too close. not too far. Close enough to observe, far enough to avoid being drawn in. People often fall into two extremes. One is being too trusting. The other is being too cautious. Both easily lead to hurt. When you're too close, you open your heart completely. You share everything without holding anything back. You place your emotions and trust in the hands of others. With kind people, that's a bond. But with malicious people, it's an opportunity. Conversely, when you're too distant, you act cold, become overly defensive, isolate yourself, make others suspicious, and create unnecessary tension in the relationship. Wise people choose the middle ground. Keeping your distance isn't indifference. It's vigilance. It's not aloofness. It's setting boundaries. Distance gives you time to observe. Observe how the other person speaks and acts. Observe the consistency between their words and actions. Observe how they treat others when there's no benefit involved. Devious people are very good at playing the good guy for a short time, but it's difficult to maintain the mask for long. Just don't get too close. You'll see the small details that those in a hurry often miss. The ancients said, to know a person's true character, observe them when they don't get what they want. A devious person, when their desires aren't met, often reveals impatience. Their attitude changes. Their words become sharp. Their eyes become calculating. If you keep your distance, you'll notice this change very clearly. But if you're too close, you'll often excuse them and easily overlook the warning signs because you don't want to believe you've misjudged them. Keeping your distance also helps you avoid getting too deeply involved in their stories. Malicious people often drag others into their tangled web of relationships. They complain about their troubles, their grievances, their conflicts with others. If you listen too much, you will inadvertently become part of their game. Today you hear them bad-mouthing person A. Tomorrow person A hears that you know about it, and you are dragged into the controversy even though you did nothing. Distance is the filter that keeps you out of those whirlpools. In the workplace, maintaining distance is crucial. Not all colleagues are friends. Not every smile is genuine. Malicious individuals often use feigned friendliness to cross boundaries. They pry into your personal life. They share sensitive information in exchange for it. If you maintain a reasonable distance, you remain polite and cooperative, but you don't let them intrude too deeply into your personal life. This makes it harder for them to find weaknesses to exploit. The ancients once said, "Water that is too clear has no fish." People who are too close lose their manners. Distance helps maintain decorum. Maintaining decorum helps maintain blessings. When you are not too close, you have fewer expectations and fewer disappointments. When you are not too distant, you maintain harmony and avoid creating enmity. This is a very subtle balance that mature people need to learn. Maintaining distance is also a way to protect your emotions. Devious people often wear others down. Sometimes they're friendly, sometimes they're cold. Sometimes they praise, sometimes they criticize. If you get too close, your emotions will be pulled up and down by them. When you maintain distance, you don't let your mood depend on the attitudes of others. You maintain inner stability, and that is the foundation of wisdom. Many people fear that keeping their distance will make them seem unapproachable. But in reality, those who maintain clear boundaries are often more respected. Malicious individuals prefer those who are easily accessible and exploitable. They rarely attack those who know how to maintain boundaries because the risks are high and the benefits are minimal. When you keep your distance, you send a message without explicitly stating that you know how to protect yourself. Maintaining a reasonable distance allows you to withdraw when necessary. If the relationship shows signs of becoming unhealthy, you can step back without causing major disruption. However, if you're too close, any withdrawal becomes difficult, easily leading to misunderstandings, being drawn in, and hurting both parties. Wise people always leave themselves a way out from the start. The ancients taught that when traveling long distances, one must conserve strength. When engaging in prolonged interactions, one must maintain distance. No one can live without others, but no one should live in a state of complete infiltration. Distance is space for you to breathe, to think, to observe, and to adjust. When you apply this principle, you'll find relationships become smoother, less stressful, and less risky. Good people stay because they respect your boundaries. Malicious people will automatically distance themselves because they don't see an advantage. You don't need to drive them away. You don't need to confront them. Just stand your ground. Keeping distance isn't about being cold. It's about being mindful. It's not about fear. It's about understanding people's hearts. In this complex world, those who know how to maintain appropriate distance are the ones who travel the long road with fewer stumbles. This is the wisdom that our ancestors wanted to pass down, and it's also a solid shield that helps you live peacefully amidst multifaceted relationships. The ancients taught that not arguing with petty people is not out of fear, but out of understanding. Understanding that debating right and wrong with treacherous people rarely yields good results. Treacherous people don't seek truth. They seek self-interest. They don't seek harmony. They seek superiority. Therefore, the more you argue, the more your weaknesses are exposed. The more you try to justify yourself, the more you fall into a passive position. Wise people choose to take a step back to preserve the greater good. This isn't a defeat, but a victory on a deeper level. In modern life, many people still hold the misconception that if they are right, they must state it clearly. If they are wrongly accused, they must explain themselves thoroughly. But the ancients viewed life from a broader perspective. They understood that right and wrong only have value when the other party respects the truth. For petty people, right and wrong are merely tools. When it benefits them, they readily twist the truth. When it is disadvantageous, they prolong arguments to wear down their opponents. If you enter that game, you have already lost from the start. Malicious people are often very good at arguing, not because they're right, but because they have no limits. They can say something today and deny it tomorrow. They can fabricate stories. They can misinterpret your words in a negative way. They can attribute motives you never considered. If you try to prove your innocence, you'll have to talk more. And the more you talk, the more you reveal. Your thoughts, your emotions, your weaknesses. That's exactly what they're waiting for. There's an old saying, the more you stir water, the muddier it becomes. The more you talk, the more confused you get. Arguing about right and wrong with petty people is like stirring mud at the bottom of a pond. At first, you can see the surface clearly, but the more you stir, the less you see. In the end, outsiders only see a chaotic mess, unable to distinguish who is right and who is wrong. At that point, your image has been damaged regardless of the truth. Taking a step back in this case isn't an unprincipled concession. It's about choosing the battlefield. A wise person doesn't fight where they're at a disadvantage, nor do they compete where they can't win. What's the bigger picture here? It's long-term honor, inner peace, and the path forward. A small victory might bring temporary satisfaction, but the price could be a broken relationship, a toxic work environment, or a deep, lasting wound. Only those with experience understand that there are battles where, after winning, you find yourself losing more than you lost. You lose peace of mind. You lose the respect of outsiders. You lose both time and energy. Petty people are always ready to drag you down into the mud to play by their rules. If you have more important things to do, you shouldn't get involved in such battles. The ancients taught that a wise bird does not perch on a crooked branch. A wise person does not contend with those of a lower status. Each person has their own perspective and value system. Debate is only meaningful when both sides are striving for the truth. When one side only seeks victory, the debate becomes meaningless. Taking a step back at this moment is a reminder that you don't need to prove anything to someone who is unworthy. Taking a step back is also a way to maintain the initiative. When you don't react the way the other person expects, they lose ground. Devious people often want to provoke, to make you angry, to make you talk a lot. When you are calm, speak little, and don't argue, they have no opportunity to speak. Your silence is sometimes a reflection of their shallowness. This is even more evident in a group setting. When conflicts arise, if you rush into arguing about right and wrong in front of a crowd, petty individuals can use the crowd as a shield. They can manipulate the situation, drag others into it, and turn a small matter into a big one. Wise people choose a different approach. They observe, learn, and handle the situation at the appropriate time, sometimes through action, sometimes through the results of their work, not through verbal arguments. The ancients once said, "Winning against others is not as important as winning against yourself." When you can control your urge to argue, you have conquered a part of your instincts. When you can remain calm in the face of provocation, you have reached a higher level of self-cultivation. The most cunning people are those who can make others lose control. But when you don't give them that, they become vulnerable. Taking a step back also helps you see the bigger picture more clearly. During arguments, people easily get caught up in trivial details. Who said what? Who was wrong? But by stepping back, you see the motives, the recurring patterns of behavior of the other party. From there, you can make a more informed decision for the future, whether to continue cooperating or to maintain distance. This is what truly matters in the long run. Many people worry that not arguing about right and wrong will be perceived as weakness. But in reality, calm people are often more highly regarded than those who are overly competitive. Knowing when to remain silent shows confidence in your own worth. You don't need validation from verbal battles. You let time and actions speak for themselves. That's a soft power that petty people find difficult to imitate. The ancients taught that when faced with great challenges, one must remain calm. When encountering wicked people, one must be patient. Patience here doesn't mean blindly enduring, but rather waiting for the right time, protecting oneself, and avoiding traps. Deceitful people are often impatient when they don't achieve their goals. Wise people know how to wait, and in that waiting, they preserve the overall situation. The true meaning of life doesn't lie in a few victories or defeats, but in the long-term direction, in the relationships worth cherishing, and in inner peace. When you understand this, you'll feel lighter. You don't need to prove yourself right to everyone. You just need to live true to your values. Those who understand will understand. Arguing with those who don't is pointless. Avoiding conflict with petty people is also a way to preserve one's good fortune. Sharp words may win over others, but they can easily damage one's character. Prolonged arguments easily breed resentment. Resentment breeds gossip. Gossip complicates matters. The ancients valued maintaining harmony, not because they feared conflict, but because they understood the long-term consequences of karma. Each time one avoids a pointless conflict, one avoids a complex cycle of cause and effect. When you take a step back, you lose nothing. You retain your clarity of mind. You save your energy for more important things. You maintain your peace of mind. That's the foundation for the long haul. A cunning person might win an argument, but a wise person wins the entire journey. Ultimately, the ancients wanted to convey this message. Life is short. Time is precious. Don't use it to compete with those who don't share your ideals. Use it to build, to learn, to live more deeply. Taking a step back is not defeat, but a step to a different level of wisdom, where you are no longer swayed by the words of petty people, but firmly walk your own path. The story of the snake in the farm is an ancient metaphor, yet it never gets old. It's not just about an ungrateful animal. It clearly reflects the treacherous nature of people in human life. The ancients used this story to remind us that misplaced compassion not only fails to save anyone, but also brings misfortune upon oneself. The story goes that one cold winter, a farmer was walking across a snow-covered field when he found a snake lying motionless. It was so cold that it seemed stiff and dead. The farmer felt pity for it. Thinking that even though it was a snake, it was still a living being, he picked it up, placed it in his shirt, and took it home to warm it. He believed that if he could keep it warm enough, the snake would revive and leave. Unexpectedly, as the warmth spread, the snake came to its senses. And the first thing it did was not to show gratitude, but to turn and bite the man who had saved it. The venom spread quickly, and the farmer fell. Before dying, he could only utter, "I was wrong to believe that nature could change." The ancients told this story not to teach people to be cold or indifferent, but to point out a truth that is very difficult to accept. The nature of some people cannot be changed by kindness alone. A treacherous person is like that snake. When in danger, they appear weak. When helped, they appear grateful. But when given the opportunity, they will turn around and hurt the very person who extended a helping hand. Many people have experienced similar situations in life. Some help a struggling colleague, share their experience, and protect them from superiors. But when an opportunity for promotion arises, that same person speaks ill of them, blames them, or even puts their benefactor at a disadvantage to gain an advantage. Others, out of compassion, shield a troublemaker, believing that giving them another chance will change them. The result is that the protector is implicated, betrayed, and deeply hurt. The issue isn't about helping or not helping, but about who you're helping. The ancients clearly distinguished between those who have gone astray and those who are treacherous. Those who have gone astray may be wrong due to circumstances, lack of understanding, or momentary delusion. Kindness and guidance can help them turn back. But treacherous people are different. They don't go wrong because they don't know, but because they choose to. They understand their actions perfectly and are willing to exploit the kindness of others to achieve their goals. The most dangerous thing is that many devious people are very good at playing the victim. They tell stories that soften the listener's heart. They lament their unhappy past, their disadvantages, and how they were treated unfairly. If the listener isn't careful, they'll think that if they just do a little better, are a little more patient, then the victim will change. But that's the sweetest trap, because once you believe them, you lower your guard. And when you lower your guard, you become an easy target. The ancients taught that compassion must be guided by wisdom. Helping others must have limits. Unbounded kindness is not virtue, but misfortune. A snake doesn't bite out of hunger. It bites out of instinct. A treacherous person doesn't betray you because you did something wrong. They betray because that's how they survive. If you hope to win them over with kindness, you are gambling your safety on an uncertain outcome. Many argue that if everyone were suspicious and defensive, society would be incredibly cold. But the ancients didn't advise suspicion of everyone. They advised discernment, distinguishing those worth helping from those to avoid. Wisdom doesn't lie in opening your heart to everyone, but in knowing when to close it. Like a house, it has a door to welcome guests, but also a lock to keep out thieves. The story of the snake also reminds us that when a person has repeatedly caused harm, repeatedly betrayed, and repeatedly revealed their selfish nature, continuing to hope for their change is no longer an act of compassion, but rather self-deception. The ancients called this delusion. Delusion leads people to justify the wicked while neglecting their responsibility to protect themselves. In relationships, if you see someone who always puts their own interests above all else, always blames circumstances, always sees themselves as the victim, and never truly takes responsibility, then be wary. That could very well be a snake feigning death in the cold, waiting until it's warm enough, strong enough, to turn and bite you. What's the biggest lesson from this story? It's to avoid confusing kindness with naivety. Kindness needs to be accompanied by discernment. Help others, but don't give them your complete trust. Care, but maintain boundaries. That's not selfishness. That's self-respect. A person with self-respect won't put themselves in danger just to prove they're a good person. The ancients once said, "Not everyone in need should be saved. Not everyone who asks should be helped." It sounds cruel, but it's a profound insight into human nature. Helping the wrong people sows bad karma for yourself, and sometimes for those around you as well. The story of the snake in the farm is therefore not just a warning, but a gentle yet stern reminder that in life, not everyone deserves your kindness. There are people who, the more you love them, the more they will harm you. Not because you are not good enough, but because they are incapable of receiving goodness. Understanding this will lessen your guilt when you have to back down. It will reduce self-reproach when you have to say no. It will lessen your remorse when you choose to protect yourself instead of unconditionally sacrificing yourself. It doesn't mean you've become cold-hearted. It means you've matured. You know how to place kindness wisely, and you understand that keeping yourself safe is also a form of profound wisdom. The third principle for dealing with devious people is to never entrust them with important benefits. This is a core, vital principle that our ancestors always emphasized. Because in any relationship, before enough time has passed to understand a person's character, money, power, and secrets are the three most dangerous things if given to the wrong person. They are not just resources, but also keys for others to control, manipulate, and cause long-term harm to your life. The ancients said that you test people with small things. But harming people also begins with big things. Devious people are often very patient. They don't rush to reveal themselves. Initially, they approach you with enthusiasm, concern, and understanding, making you feel like you're trustworthy. Once they've built rapport, they will gradually find ways to exploit your core interests. This could be borrowing money, asking you to act as a nominee, signing documents for them, sharing insider information, or giving you the authority to make important decisions. Each time, if you are too lenient, you are opening the door for risk to enter. Money is the quickest test of a person's character. Before money is involved, anyone can talk about morality. But when money appears, their true nature is immediately revealed. Deceitful people are very good at using promises, emotions, and stories of hardship to appeal to compassion. They make you believe it's just this once, just a little help. But once the money is given, you lose control. They might delay repayment, avoid you, or even turn around and blame you for being unsympathetic and lacking understanding. Many relationships break down, many families are torn apart, and many careers collapse because of one word: gullibility when it comes to money. Power is even more dangerous than money. Money can be earned back, but power given to the wrong person can have a chain reaction of consequences. In the workplace, when you give someone who lacks the necessary integrity to make decisions, they may exploit that position for personal gain, oppress others, blame you for mistakes, or use that small amount of power as a stepping stone to climb higher. When the truth comes out, the person ultimately responsible is often not the manipulator, but the one who granted the power. Therefore, the ancients were very cautious in employing people. Better slow and steady. Better to be short a hand than to employ the wrong person. Secrets are the most dangerous of the three, because once they're revealed, you can't take them back. Malicious people always crave other people's secrets, not because they care, but because secrets are tools. They can use them to bargain, to exert pressure, to spread rumors, or simply to put you in a vulnerable position. Many people, seeking sympathy, reveal their private lives, family matters, finances, past mistakes to a stranger. That's a huge mistake. The ancients taught that words, once spoken, are like water spilled on the ground. They cannot be taken back. Those who can control their mouths control their fate. It's worth noting that devious people rarely make direct demands. They often create the impression that you are willingly giving them something. They say things like, "I trust you," "I'm only asking you for this," or "I don't know who else to ask." They make you feel that refusing would make you heartless. But wise people understand that refusing at the right time protects both parties. Because if the other person is truly virtuous, they will understand and respect your boundaries. Only those with ulterior motives will try to cross those boundaries. The ancients said, entrust wealth, not power. Entrust tasks, not your life. This means cooperation is possible. You can work together, but crucial matters that determine life and death honor. Safety should absolutely not be entrusted to someone who hasn't had enough time to prove themselves. Virtue isn't found in words or fleeting appearances. Virtue is shown through how they treat those weaker than themselves, through their integrity when no one is watching, and through how they react when their interests are threatened. These things take time. They cannot be rushed. Many young people make the mistake of thinking that suspicion is bad and defensiveness is insincere. But the ancients saw life more deeply. They understood that trust must be built on repeated actions over time, not on fleeting emotions. A person who gives away all their money, power, and secrets after only a few friendly conversations is not a good person. They lack wisdom. The principle of not giving away your own interests doesn't make you isolated. On the contrary, it helps you filter out truly healthy relationships. People who are drawn to you for who you are won't leave just because you maintain boundaries. Only those who want to take advantage will get upset when you don't give them what they want. When you practice this principle, you will find life lighter, less troublesome, and less tumultuous. You will no longer have to worry about who holds your weaknesses against you, and you will no longer fear being betrayed from behind one day. This is the way to protect yourself that the ancients emphasized. Protect yourself first, then protect your mind and your fortune. If you find these things helpful in making you more discerning in judging people, please stay with the Simple Philosophy channel. Here, we learn together how to live peacefully, profoundly, and steadfastly amidst the complexities of human nature. The fourth principle for dealing with devious people is to use calmness to control movement. This is a very high level of wisdom from the ancients. Devious people thrive on the emotional turmoil of others. They are not strong because they are right, but because they make others lose their composure. When you get angry, when you are impatient, when you react too quickly, you have entered the rhythm they have set. Conversely, when you remain calm, slow, and not drawn in, they are the ones who lose the upper hand first. The ancients said that movement reveals something, while stillness reveals something deeper. The more a person stirs up trouble, the more it reveals inner turmoil. Devious people are very good at creating conflict. They sow ambiguous words, tell half-truths, half-lies, stirring up suspicion between people. Their goal is not to find the truth, but to see who reacts more strongly, who loses control first. Because those who lose control are the easiest to manipulate. In life, you will encounter people who deliberately provoke you. They make sarcastic remarks. They blame you. They make veiled accusations. They make you feel offended, misunderstood, and wronged. The natural human reaction is to explain, to refute, to prove you right. But that very moment is when you fall into their trap. Because for malicious people, right and wrong don't matter. What matters is that you've been pulled out of your calm state. Those who know how to use calmness to control movement are not weak. Rather, they are people with a deep understanding of the world. They know that emotions are the most precious resource, and they cannot be wasted on those who don't deserve them. When provoked, they don't react hastily. They observe and listen to see what the other party wants, whether they want you angry, talkative, or vulnerable. When you don't give them what they want, the game automatically turns around. There are times when silence isn't because there's nothing to say, but because there's no need to speak. The ancients called this powerful silence. Your composure unsettles cunning individuals because they don't know what you're thinking or what your next move will be. When they can't predict your moves, they lose their advantage. It's like someone accustomed to fighting in a noisy crowd suddenly being pulled into a quiet room. All their schemes become clumsy. Using stillness to control movement also means not getting drawn into conflicts created by others. Devious people love to stand between two sides, fanning misunderstandings, pitting others against each other, while they stand back and reap the benefits. When you hear an inflammatory remark, if you immediately believe and react, you become a pawn. A wise person will slow down, verify the facts, and maintain neutrality until the truth becomes clear. That very slowness saves you from many troubles. In the workplace, calm people often go further than impulsive people. When conflicts arise, cunning people tend to raise their voices, exert pressure, create a sense of urgency, and force others to make quick decisions. But those who know how to remain calm won't rush. They ask for time, consider the facts, and only make decisions when their minds are at peace. Decisions made in a calm state are less likely to be wrong, while decisions made in a restless state often have long-lasting consequences. The same applies to personal relationships. When attacked, if you react emotionally, the relationship will deteriorate. But if you maintain a calm tone and attitude without retaliating, the other party will either reveal their true nature or lose interest because they didn't achieve their goal. Many conflicts end not because of who wins, but because one side stops playing along. Ancient practitioners of spiritual cultivation highly valued tranquility. Tranquility is not about avoidance, but about mastery. When the mind is tranquil, you see more clearly, hear more clearly, and make better choices. Deceitful people live by pushing others into trouble. When you stand still, they don't know what to do next. That is the highest form of self-defense without direct confrontation. Using calmness to control impulses is also a way to conserve your own energy. Every time you get angry, you lose a lot of strength. Meanwhile, a devious person feels satisfied because they have controlled your emotions. When you don't give them a chance to react, you save that energy for more worthwhile things: your family, your career, and your self-improvement. Those who have lived long lives understand one thing: not every battle needs to be fought. Not every provocation needs to be responded to. Knowing when to stand still is a sign of mature wisdom. When you understand and practice the principle of using stillness to control movement, you will find yourself less drawn into conflict, less hurt, and your life's trajectory will gradually stabilize. What the most treacherous people fear is not the strong, but the calm, because they cannot grasp, provoke, or control them. When you maintain inner peace, you build an invisible defense. It's quiet, it's not ostentatious, but it's incredibly strong. The ancients said that the most dangerous people are those who have nothing to exploit. This isn't just empty moralistic advice, but the culmination and profound life experience. A devious person isn't scary because they're evil, but because they're skilled at finding weaknesses in people's hearts. They observe very carefully. Who craves profit? Who craves fame? Who craves recognition? Who likes to show off? Who fears losing face? All of these things can become a rope. Once they've grasped the rope, they only need to pull gently, and you'll slide in the direction they want. Therefore, people with fewer desires naturally become harder to manipulate. When you don't crave personal gain, temptation becomes ineffective. When you don't place too much importance on reputation, slander loses its effect. When you don't boast, others have no data to envy or scheme against you. Living simply is not just a peaceful lifestyle. It's also a very high form of self-protection. In modern life, many people unintentionally expose their weaknesses. They talk too much about their plans, their income, their relationships, their future aspirations, thinking it's openness. But for a devious person, it's a treasure map. They know what you need, what you fear, what you want, and from there, they gradually set a trap. The simpler a person lives, the less they talk about themselves, the less likely they are to be targeted. Having few desires doesn't mean you have no dreams. It means not letting desires lead the way. You still work. You still strive. But you don't compromise your ethics. You don't lower your principles for short-term gain. Deceitful people often exploit short-term greed. They offer small benefits in exchange for big risks. When you're not hasty, not impatient, and not blinded by small gains, you've stepped out of the danger zone. Being modest is also a form of self-cultivation. Boasting is not only off-putting, but it also invites trouble. When you talk too much about your successes, good people may congratulate you, but bad people will secretly envy you and try to bring you down. The ancients taught that you shouldn't boast about your success until your fortune is great enough, and you shouldn't brag about what hasn't been accomplished yet. This isn't because you're afraid of others knowing, but because you want to maintain a safe distance for yourself. Living simply also means reducing unnecessary relationships. Devious people often hide within complex social networks. When you know too many people and have too wide a circle of acquaintances, it's difficult to discern who is sincere and who is insincere. Those who live simply choose fewer but deeper relationships. Fewer relationships, but clear ones. This makes it harder for malicious people to infiltrate. Some people think that living simply is a disadvantage, but in reality, it's a great freedom. When you don't chase comparisons, you don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to win or lose. You're not dragged into other people's games. Deceitful people love those who want to show off, who want recognition, because they are easily manipulated by fake praise. When you don't need those things, you stand out from their reach. The ancients said that those who have nothing to exploit naturally avoid trouble. This isn't about escaping life, but about understanding it. You still live in society, but you maintain a clean inner self. Few desires, few displays, few dependencies. Then, even if a treacherous person appears, they will only pass by, unable to find a foothold, and will leave on their own. Living this way may seem simple, but it's the result of long-term mindfulness. As you gradually practice it, you'll find your life is less filled with conflict, less confrontation, less hurt, and your energy is reserved for what truly matters: family, health, and inner peace. This is the most subtle yet enduring way to protect yourself, a legacy left by our ancestors for those living amidst complexities. In the history of the bureaucracy, there are many stories that evoke both pity and insight. Many virtuous individuals were harmed not because they were weak or incompetent, but because they were too straightforward. So straightforward that they failed to understand people's hearts. So straightforward that they believed that simply being right would automatically protect them. But the bureaucracy has never been a place governed solely by morality. It is a place where people clash with self-interest, fame, and power. And there, kindness, if not accompanied by wisdom, easily becomes easy prey. There are honest officials who never accept bribes throughout their lives. They don't flatter superiors or oppress subordinates. They speak out against wrongdoing and expose corruption. Their hearts are as upright as a jade ruler. But it is precisely this honesty that makes them isolated. They have no factions, no support, and no one to shield them when storms come. Petty people don't fear honest people. They only fear honest people who are cunning. When they encounter someone straightforward but unprepared, they know that a well-timed trap is all it takes. According to a story passed down through generations, there was a young official renowned for his integrity. Every time he attended court, he offered frank and unbiased advice, showing no respect for anyone. Initially, the emperor praised him for his honesty, but over time, his words touched upon too many vested interests. Those affected did not openly refute him. Instead, they secretly conspired, setting traps and using his uprightness as evidence to accuse him. One ill-considered remark, one unprepared action ultimately, he was demoted and exiled. Not because he was wrong, but because he failed to understand that he was caught in the middle of a chess game. The lesson here isn't to encourage people to be deceitful. Rather, it reminds us that kindness needs wisdom to guide it. Those who are kind without discernment are easily exploited and easily pushed into becoming scapegoats in power struggles. Kindness doesn't mean revealing all your thoughts, telling the whole truth in every situation, or always being the one to say the harsh words. The ancients said that a gentleman possesses both virtue and wisdom. Virtue is the root, wisdom is the wing. Having virtue without wisdom is like a good person walking in the dark without a lamp, easily stumbling, easily pushed into a pit. A true gentleman is not someone who always speaks frankly, but someone who knows when to speak, when to remain silent, when to advance, and when to retreat. That is the wisdom that protects goodness. In the old days, there were also virtuous individuals who lived very long lives, not because they compromised with evil, but because they knew how to protect themselves. They chose to do what was right without making a fuss. They chose to uphold morality without direct confrontation. When they needed to offer advice, they chose discreet times. When they needed to object, they used gentle reasoning. They didn't allow themselves to become targets too soon. That's why they held their positions long enough to persistently do good. Kindness without wisdom can easily turn into naivety. Naivety in a complex environment is dangerous. Deceitful people are most attracted to those who are good, but predictable, trusting, and easily moved. They only need to play the victim, or the pitiful person to draw the innocent into their game. When everything falls apart, the honest person is the one who suffers the consequences. The important lesson is to maintain kindness, but don't put it on the table for others to use. Kindness needs boundaries. Integrity needs strategy. Truthfulness needs choice. Not every truth needs to be spoken immediately. Not every right thing needs to be done at the forefront. Sometimes, taking a step back isn't out of fear, but because you want to go the distance. The same is true in modern life. It's not just in government that there are petty people. In offices, businesses, and social relationships, there are people who appear honest on the outside, but are calculating on the inside. Those who are too straightforward are often perceived as difficult to get along with, easily isolated, and easily pushed aside when problems arise. Kind-hearted people, if they don't learn to observe and be wary, will be exhausted and may even be deeply hurt before they understand. True kindness isn't about giving to everyone, believing everyone, or telling the truth to everyone. True kindness is about knowing who to be kind to, when to speak, and how to act. Intelligence doesn't diminish moral values. On the contrary, it helps morality endure longer in a complex world. Stories from the old officialdom remind us that being upright is valuable. But being upright, without breaking, is the highest level. To achieve this, one must learn to judge people, observe the situation, and understand the times. Maintain inner peace while outwardly acting with a degree of flexibility. This is the path for virtuous people to avoid being hurt and to remain true to themselves amidst the turbulent world. The highest level of skill when dealing with a devious person is not about exposing them, nor about winning arguments, nor about calculating counterattacks. The highest level is not about confronting them, but about elevating yourself. When you are strong enough, stable enough, and insightful enough, the devious person will naturally avoid you. Not because they fear your direct confrontation, but because they no longer have room to exploit. The ancients once said that petty people don't fear evil people. They only fear those who are one level higher than themselves. Evil people can be confronted. Gentle but weak people can be exploited. Only those with strong inner strength, stable character, and a secure position can make petty people hesitate, because they cannot see through them, cannot touch them, cannot control them. And when they cannot exploit their advantage, they will withdraw on their own. Devious people live by exploiting the weaknesses of others. They observe very carefully. Who is hot-tempered? Who is ambitious? Who is greedy? Who likes recognition? Who is easily swayed? Who is boastful? These are all tools they use to manipulate. The simpler your life, the fewer your desires, the clearer your boundaries, and the more emotionally stable you are, the more difficult they become to approach. Elevating yourself first means improving your capabilities. When your work yields real results, creates real value, you don't need to talk much or claim credit. You'll naturally find your place. Deceitful people are wary of truly capable individuals because genuine ability comes with unwavering confidence. They are not easily swayed, intimidated, or manipulated. They prefer working with people who lack ability but are highly ambitious, because those people are easily manipulated. Elevating yourself also means enhancing your reputation. Reputation doesn't come from speaking well, but from consistency. Saying what you mean and doing what you say. Keeping your promises. You don't need to promise a lot. Just promise a few things, but make sure they are true. A reputable person makes others wary because they know you're not easily drawn into shady games, not easily blamed, and not easily turned into a scapegoat. With unscrupulous people, the harder it is to tarnish someone's reputation, the more dangerous they are. Most importantly, cultivate inner strength. Inner strength is inner stability. It means not being easily angered, not being easily swayed, not being easily offended, and not being easily afraid of loss. Malicious people are very good at provoking emotions. They enjoy making others lose their composure. When you get angry, you reveal your weaknesses. When you are afraid, you lose your advantage. When you are greedy, you are easily manipulated. Strong inner strength allows you to stand firm amidst the storm. You don't overreact. You don't get drawn into their rhythm. The ancients said that winning people over with virtue is the best strategy. But virtue here doesn't mean meekness or weakness. Virtue is inner fulfillment. When you are fulfilled, you don't need to compete. You don't need to be better. You don't need to prove yourself. It is this lack of need that creates distance. Deceitful people thrive on others needing them help, relationships, information. When you don't need them, they lose power. This is clearly evident in real life. There are people who are always in trouble with petty individuals. Wherever they go, they are slandered, trapped, and exploited. It's not necessarily because they are unlucky, but because they still have many weaknesses that can be exploited. They still want recognition, they still fear being disliked, and they still crave short-term gains. When they mature, focus on themselves, speak less, boast less, and explain less, those troubles naturally decrease. Devious people don't like confronting straightforward people. You're clear about your principles, clear about your boundaries, clear about your values. They have no room to maneuver, no excuse to twist the story, no point of contention. They'll shift their target to someone else more easily. It's their survival instinct. The highest level is when you no longer care what they think, say, or do. You focus on living your own life well, working steadily, maintaining a calm mind, having selective relationships, and dedicating time to learning, self-improvement, and health. As your life becomes more streamlined, your energy levels rise, and malicious people will feel uncomfortable around you because they won't be able to absorb anything from you. The ancients called it righteous spirit. When righteous spirit is strong, evil spirit will naturally dissipate. No need to fight. No need to drive it away. Just stand there. When you live rightly, live steadfastly, live deeply, you are like a mountain. A gentle breeze cannot shake it. A heavy rain only washes over its surface. Petty people are like weeds. They can only grow in weak soil, not on hard rock. So don't spend too much time studying how to deal with devious people. Spend your time improving yourself. Become a little stronger each day, a little clearer, a little calmer. When you reach that level, you'll realize that many of the dangers that once worried you have quietly disappeared. Not because you defeated them, but because you've reached a different level. A level they can no longer reach. In life, it's inevitable to encounter treacherous people. That's a natural part of society, as each person carries different levels of awareness and self-interest. Our ancestors never taught us to be wary of everyone, nor did they teach us to become suspicious or deceitful. What wise people have left us is a way of living with clear-headedness, knowing how to judge people, knowing how to protect ourselves, knowing when to retreat, and knowing when to advance. Malicious people can only hurt you when you reveal your weaknesses. When you talk too much, when you trust too quickly, when you let your emotions guide you, and when you place your interests in the hands of someone lacking virtue. Therefore, keeping your mouth shut isn't about closing yourself off, but about staying safe. Keeping your heart shut isn't about being cold, but about not letting others manipulate your emotions. Keeping your distance isn't about being aloof, but about creating space to observe and conserve your energy. The ancients said that a virtuous person fears no wicked person. They only fear not being wise enough. When you live with clear principles, transparent interests, and consistent words and actions, you will naturally form an invisible defense. Devious people will find you difficult to approach, difficult to exploit, and gradually they will leave to find easier targets. Most importantly, one must constantly cultivate oneself. Cultivation is not just about reading books or studying philosophy. It's about developing abilities, discipline, composure, and a simple, focused way of life. When your inner strength is sufficient, you will no longer fear being slandered, envied, or offended, because you will know that your value doesn't lie in the opinions of others. Even then, storms may still come, but they won't shake you. Gossip may still arise, but they won't harm you. You don't need to compete. You don't need to explain. You don't need to prove anything. Just live right, live steadfastly, and live deeply. That is the greatest wisdom that our ancestors wanted to pass on. If you find these reflections relatable, take a moment to look back at the relationships around you. Who brings you peace of mind? Who makes you insecure? Who strengthens you? Who drains you? Simply recognizing this is the first step towards awakening. Subscribe to the Simple Philosophy channel to continue following lessons that help you understand people, life, and yourself more deeply. If you think this video could help someone who is confused about relationships, please share it with them. Perhaps it will be a blessing in disguise, helping them live more peacefully and wisely each day.